Good evening, everyone. Today we will proceed with the next unit of Indian economic development, which is current challenges facing Indian economy. It comprises of total 6 chapters. And from this year, 2 of the chapters have been eliminated, which we'll not talk about. One of them is poverty and the other is infrastructure. Other than those 2 chapters, we'll talk in brief about all the chapters of this unit. So the first very chapter is human capital formation. So, students, you're lucky enough because this is a chapter which you have already undergone. You have already been much prepared about this particular unit in the junior classes. So, first of all, what is human capital formation? You've already studied this in junior classes. As I mentioned, that in class 9th or 10th, you have already been talked about. When it is human capital formation, it is a process of converting the normal population of a country into the skilled one. And formally, it is defined as the stock of skills, training, health, and education, which is productive and adds value to the economy. So, how is this human capital formation done? What are the sources which are helpful in the process of human capital formation? You must have learnt it and you must remember it as well that the most important factor is education. Sometimes the question is asked that why is education considered to be very important for the formation of human capital? So the example is very simple. If you talk about the cricketer, there can be a cricketer who is just playing it for his hobby, his or her hobby, but the other one who sweats a lot, works a lot, and even harder works even harder for the convenience of the matches, for the achievements of the matches. So when we talk about education, it is not all about going to school, it is not all about getting the certificates and degrees, it is about the skills, it's all about the education which we can find from any area. It's all about being educated. Then comes his health. Why is health important? We know this very well. A healthy person is considered to be an asset for the economy. I repeat, children, a healthy person is considered to be an asset for the economy. If you talk about health, it gives consistency to one to work. It not only gives consistency to work, it also allows a person to give his 100%. 100%, which can be mental as well as physical, because health never talks only about the physical health, it also talks about the mental health. Other than this, an unhealthy person can just be called a liability on the economy. Although morally it doesn't sound good, but yes, in economics we call it like that, as an unhealthy person is no more an asset to the economy, is considered a burden to the economy as they cannot make any contribution towards economy inconsistency. And further, they are the responsibility of the healthy persons to be taken care of. Then comes his on job training. We know this very well that this point is something new to us. Education and health, we have discussed many more times previously, but when it comes to on job training, this is something different. The training is a process of converting a person into more skilled, more trained, more successful, and more comfortable to work for. Therefore, when a person is educated and healthy and is going to start with the job or going to start with the work, it's very important that the person should also be well trained to be comfortable to handle with the work given or assigned. Therefore, there are certain types of trainings these days being provided. You're very much aware of the different internship programs which we gain during our education process. Other than these, there are some induction programs which are generally conducted for a short period of time during the job trainings, and some can be more comprehensive, can be for months, can be for years, can be in-house and sometimes abroad to give you the knowledge about the modus operandi of the company and also about the do's and don'ts. It will be relating to the atmosphere, HR policies, working conditions, the various trainings associated with the technology which you are going to handle with, and many more things. So, in short and in total, the on job training is a process which helps the person to become more productive during the delivery of the production or during the productive activities. Then comes this migration. It differently is being talked about because migration is something when the person is leaving the original or native place and is settling down to the other place. And so far as never been talked about migration in positive sense. But when it comes to human capital formation, migration becomes one of the positive sources as it helps the person to become better in education. It also helps the person to gain with the better opportunities in jobs. Can also help the person to have a better living standard. For example, if a person is migrating from rural India to urban India, can definitely avail better education system, can avail better health, can avail better job training, and many more opportunities which cannot be possible due to certain challenges and limitations in the rural India. So migration definitely helps a lot in the formation of human capital. And the last is information. See, the government of India, the various companies, the various educational institutions keep floating various informations. But if these informations are not reaching the appropriate person at accurate time, then these are of no use. So for human capital formation, again, it's very important to be informant. And you can relate it to yourself as after 12th, you need to seek for your colleges and future courses. You must be updating yourself with the various information which are there on the websites, which are there on various newspapers and many other platforms. Because these informations are going to help you to become human capital in future. I hope you are clear with all these 5 options. They can be the detailed question as well as the 1 mark question. So keep them in mind. Now, there's a comprehensive question which is very much asked, that is human capital and economic growth. Why we talk about human capital? Children, you would be surprised to know, but 2 decades back, Indian population was considered as to be a burden on Indian economy. And one of the most difficult challenge to be faced was the population. But today the mindset has completely changed. Today, human capital, which is of course the population's filtered and refined, uh, you may say that filtered and refined phase, they are all called as human capital as an asset because today the mindset of the economist has proven that economic growth is impossible without the existence of human capital. The best examples can be given for the countries like Israel, China, Japan, and of course now Korea. These are the examples which have proven that it is only human capital which can generate a lot of employment, further a lot of GDP and per capita income into the country, and can prepare the countries to be competing in the world. Therefore, human capital is associated with economic growth. Now, technically, how does it help? I'll talk to you about this through these points. The first is that labor or the workforce is only helpful or asset to the country when it is skilled. I repeat, is only helpful to the economy or country when it is skilled. If the more skilled it is, that means the more educated they are, the more trained they are, the more skilled they are, the better they are in their health. They help in the generation of more income. I repeat, they help in the generation of more income. And this income, which is comparatively more of later than the previous one, then definitely is going to be an asset for the economy and will help in the economic growth. It is also there that when individuals' income grows, then national income also grows. I repeat, children, individual incomes, some is only going to result into the national income. So higher is the per capita income, the higher will be the national income. And that's also possible with human capital formation only. That's also true that it's not all about education, skills, trainings, information, but of course, health. As it is said, that healthy mind lives in a healthy body. It's not at all exaggeration. It's very much fact. You see, you can relate it to yourself that you are very soon going to appear into your boards. If you're mentally and physically fit, you can deliver your 100%. But unfortunately, let's God forbid that if anything wrong happens with any student or any worker during working hour or during the delivery time, the deliveries will definitely be affected. Henceforth, the productivity will also be affected. So, for enhanced activities, productivities, and output, we need the person to be healthy. At the same time, we believe that the healthy person can easily absorb the different types of technologies and abilities which are being taught to them, whereas the people with the challenges cannot do so. Then we should also believe that the educated, healthy persons are also going to contribute to the society. The better is the individual, the better will be the society, and the better will be the achievements in future in the society. You see, the healthier persons we have in the society, the healthier sportsmen we have in the society, the healthier professionals we have in the society will have better scientific and technological and sports achievements in the country. So, human capital and economic growth are deeply associated. Now, there's a new point which has been actually, this is the new topic which has been added in NCRT. Earlier, it was not there. It has been replaced with the old topic. I would not talk about the old topic, only about the NEP. NEP here stands for National Education Policy. As you can see on your screen, National Education Policy. National Education Policy was proposed in the year 2020 and it is in the process of undergoing. There have been various challenges which have been faced in last 4 to 5 decades in Indian education system. Considering them all, there have been some proposals by National Education Policy. What are they? They definitely talk to you about the uses of education and the human capital. So, with various dramatic scientific and technological advancements, such as rise of big data, machine learning, artificial intelligence, we can convert the one into human capital. Second, see, it is also there that there are certain, it's the time of advancement, AI, technology. So, if we want to rule over the technology, AI, and advancement, or if we want to be comfortable with all these changes, we need to learn about the science. We need to learn about computer science, mathematics. Therefore, the present education system in India is talking about the multidisciplinary abilities associated with sciences and social sciences. We're also talking about the climate change in NEP. We know this very well that we talk about sustainable development. One of your topic is the same. So when you're talking about sustainability in the development, we definitely need to make the people aware of the climate change and the challenges related to them. Because everything directly or indirectly is associated with the environment we are living in. We also need to talk about the various kinds of epidemics and pandemics. See, after the pandemic COVID-19, it's been very much obvious to human being that to be aware of sanitation, to be aware of hygiene habits, as it is written, to be aware of the sanitation, hygienes, and to know about the do's and don'ts about the various diseases can help us to fight with the epidemics and the pandemics. Now, understanding all these things, we should also understand that this is a society where we are believing in holistic development. And India, as known as one of the knowledge economies. I repeat, children, this is a one marker as well. India is believed to be a knowledge economy. Why knowledge economy? Because it has not only shown its economical development, but also the growth of the human capital. Human capital's multidisciplinary development in language, in numeracy, in data handling, in IT, information technology, and language proficiencies have helped the human in India to be more advanced, and therefore we are known as knowledge economy. And including them all, the subjects like humanities, arts, music, and art, all including all the types of performing and non-performing arts, are the demand for the present time. So this, because this is a very new topic, has been recently introduced, can be a part of your question paper, that what are the changes introduced as per 2020 and EP. In fact, there are many more points, but as per NCERT, only these are the points which have been discussed. So you should focus on these. Now, coming to something different, we understood what is human capital, what is human capital formation sources, and we also just talked about the NEP, how it is going to contribute into human capital formation, as well as I just told you that how is it important for an economy. Now I'll tell you, how does human capital formation help in the economic growth? If you're asked this question, that how does it help in the growth of the economy, or in the growth process of the economy, or in the formation of the economic growth? For all these three questions, your points are going to be these. The first is, it raises production. I have already explained how. It helps to deal with the emotional and physical environment of the growth. It helps to improve the quality of life. Of course, when there is growth in GDP, there's growth in per capita income, living standard of the people also goes high. Therefore, the people have better prospect to live. Then it also helps to raise the life expectancy. When a person is living a healthy and affluent life with all the facilities around, then definitely the people are expected to live long, and therefore the life expectancy is also raised. Innovative skills, when the person is gaining education, which is full of skills, trainings, and so many other things like vocational studies and many more things incorporated in NEP 2020, then are also going to add up to our economy. It also raises social justice and equality. See, it's very simple to talk about everything we are doing in human capital formation, but it's not that easy. If you talk about the human capital formation rate or ratio, it is still very much backward in India. There are so many reasons, there are so many challenges, that why we could not compete with the human development index of the other developed countries. Children, I must tell you that human development index indicates that India still lies on 130. The indication is all because of the low performing human capital and the demographic indicators. So today we'll talk about the problems being faced during the process of human capital formation in India as well. So what are they? Of course, rising population. See, I told you that decades back, population was always considered as a curse. Presently, of course not. But there is a thing which is known as population explosion. When there is a rise in the population which is not able to cope, where the economy is not able to cope up with the demand and supply proportion, there it's known as population explosion. I repeat, there it's known as population explosion. So we are on the state of population explosion, where we are not able to fulfill the supplies as per the demand of the population. Second, high regional and gender equality. We know this very well, that India is huge with multiple states in different directions. They all have their own cultural aspects to live. Therefore, the growth of these regions are also different. If you compare Kerala to Bihar in education or literacy, you will find that Kerala is having 99.9% of literacy, whereas Bihar is much more backward, having the lowest literacy rate in this region. So we find that there is disparity in the regions of India, which is forcing us still to be backward in human capital formation. On the other hand, in India, still we are fighting and struggling with the problems of gender inequality. In fact, all the genders in our country are not being given equal opportunity. The next challenge is brain drain. This is nothing new. This has been very old and has always been a matter of discussion for long. You know this very well. The term is not new to you. That brain drain means when there is migration of the skilled brains from our country to the other economy. When they start serving the interest of the other economy, it's called as brain drain. As you know, that many of the highly skilled scientists, technicians, engineers migrate to the other countries for a better paid off job and also sometimes for the better career or life opportunities. So this also damages the process of human capital formation in our country. Then there is lack of manpower planning, of course. That's because of poor administration and sometimes political reasons. It is also seen that we are highly dependent on agriculture. Still more than our 50% of population is dependent on agriculture, but still the farmers are not that trained. There is no formal training for them, formal education for them. We can also see that the poverty lines and poverty level in India is still very high because of high poverty. You see, just think around and see around. You won't be believing that still poor people live around, and these people are still struggling with their survival. So the people who are still suffering with starvation and struggling with their survival cannot think of higher education, cannot think of high standard of health facilities, and many more things, which checks the process of human capital formation. And of course, the academic standard. India's academic standard has always been a question mark. There are still many loopholes and challenges in Indian education system, especially when it comes to the international forum on international front. So we are actually working upon all these points, nothing to be very pessimistic about. We are working upon, but if this question is asked to you in the exam, I would always advise you to write the points and then elaborate them because this will be one of the 1 mark, 4 or 6 mark question. Now, sometimes you may be asked that how is the education important? You know this very well, that education has, if we could interact, I would ask you the answer because this is something very much known to you, but even then I would like to show you the answer once, just to make it convenient to you for writing in the exam. It helps the people to become good citizens. It also facilitates the uses of resources in the country. It helps in the advancement of science and technology. It expands the mental horizon of the people. It promotes cultural standard of the citizen, and it also develops human personality. And I would like to add one more thing, that is about the critical thinking and analytical thinking. After education, a person becomes better in taking their decisions and can resolve the issues easily. We just learned about the uses of education in human life. Even then, there are so many challenges related to education. The literacy rate in India is still not that bright as it should have been. So, what are the reasons or the problems relating the development of education in India? The first is the literacy rate in India is still very high. Whereas the other countries having more than 95% of literacy rate, India has not still touched 70%. Inadequate vocationalization, still the book system, pen paper writing system, examination system, and theoretical knowledge are dominating the education system in India. There is gender bias as female are provided less education than the male population, especially in the rural India. And it is because of the low rural access to the education level. We could also see that the government is spending very less on education. You know what? The Indian government spends only, please children have a note of it, it is a very important 1 marker as well. The Indian government spends only 3% of its total GDP. I repeat, it spends only 3% of its total GDP, whereas in many other countries, especially the developed economies like ours, are spending in two digits, can be 10%, 13%, 16%. Excuse me. As per the expert committee, which was made to make the researches about the human capital, the topic which I'm talking is not on your screen, so please pay attention. The education system requires a lot of funding. So to deal with this funding, one of the committee was founded, which is known as Expertise Committee. This committee had actually proposed that there should be minimum of 4% of GDP expenditure from the from the growth of the GDP rate. Other than this, 2% has to be collected, so that total of 6% of expenditure can be managed, which is minimum. Therefore, the government of India decided minimum of 4% of GDP to be spent on education, whereas additional 2% is managed by CES. I repeat, CESS, CES. CES, which is charged on income tax of the people. The additional 2% CES is charged on the income tax of the people to arrange the fund for the education expenditures in India. Now, proceeding to the next topic, which is human capital formation in India's status. What is the present status of human capital formation in India? As I just told you, that so many challenges, but even then, the government of India has not given up. It still has been trying, and this effort had been started even just after the independence. So first it started with the 7th five-year plan, which stressed upon the importance of human capital. And then the Ministry of Education at the level of center as well as the state, with the help of NCERT, you're well aware of NCERT, and UGC. Children, the words like NCERT, UGC are the 1-mark questions. I repeat, UGC, NCERT are the 1-mark questions which can be asked in full form type of questions. One of them is AICTE also. The full form is not very well and common known, so I would like to speak it for you. This All India Council of Technical Education. Sorry, All India Council of Technical Education. These all are the governing bodies or educational organizations which help in the complete monitoring of education system in India. NCERT helps for the education of school through central boards. UGC is the University Grant Commission, which monitors, controls, and regulates the university level of education, including and comprising of colleges. AICTE is introduced for the technical education. All the engineering and the other technical educations are regulated under this. Then comes is something about ICMR. ICMR is Indian Council of Medical Research. It's again a 1-marker. This is associated with the health sector. So all the type of education related to health, medical, and all are covered under this. So as per all these states which we have done, and you know what, there is a table which I have not included in this because this is very much clearly mentioned in your NCERT textbook. I refer to that. If your textbooks are open with you, you can just refer right now. The table over there can tell you about the data and the changes into the achievements of human capital formation. And observing them all, the World Bank has claimed that India will soon become the knowledge economy outstanding the world. And it also claimed that India uses its knowledge as much as Ireland does. Then the per capita income will definitely rise to $3,000 by the year 2020. Although this claim could not be very much successful because of the pandemic. Now comes is the second chapter of this unit, that is current challenges facing Indian economy based on employment. It's again a very simple and interesting topic as well. In this topic, I would like to refer to all the tables, pie charts, diagrams given in the NCERT textbook. It's my humble advice to you all to go through all those pie charts, tables, and diagrams, because sometimes those are used as the pictorial questions. That means those pictures are given as case study to be discussed about. So I would definitely advise you to be very much thorough with those and practice and go for the exam. Now I would like to discuss some keywords out of this chapter. These are all one markers as well. First of all, as we are talking about employment, we should know these keywords like worker. Who is a worker? A person who is involved in the productive activity is a worker. What is an economic activity? We have already discussed many a times in the past, in the junior classes as well. That is the activity which people are involved in to earn money. This is associated with the process of consumption, production, and distribution. What is production activity? Production activity refers to the activities which take place for the sake of production of goods and services. And further, they generate income. Now, this is very important, which is labor force. This is something new to you, so you should remember as a one marker. All the persons who are working or have job and those who are not working but able to work and are willing to work at the existing wage rate constitutes the labor force of a country. What is a workforce? See, they sound very much similar, but they are not at all similar. There's difference. In fact, this can be a difference question also, the difference between labor force and workforce. So the number of persons who are actually employed at a particular time are known as workforce. I repeat, the number of persons who are actually employed at a particular time are known as workforce. It also includes all those persons who are actually engaged in productive activities. I give you here an example. If there are 100 people above the age of 15 years and below the age of 60 years, they are the workforce of the country because they are all able and can be willing and can definitely be ready to work at the existing wage rate. But if all of them do not get the opportunity to work, only 30 people out of those 100 get the opportunity to work and they actually get engaged in the productive activities. So these 30 people are the workforce of the nation. So everybody, those who are willing to work at the existing wage rate can be labor force, but everybody cannot be the workforce. This is the basic difference between labor force and workforce. Now, labor supply, you must have understood because you are aware of the term supply. So this refers to the amount of labor. Please mind it. Amount of labor that workers are willing to work corresponding to a particular wage rate. That means the more the labor are willing to offer their labor to work for the given wage rates is known as labor supply. Now, workforce participation rate. It's associated with the ratio. Here you should focus on this ratio. It's calculated how? Workforce upon total population into 100. I repeat, workforce upon total population into 100. This particular slide is very important in respect to the one markers as well as to the MCQ, to the match the following type of questions. I've already told you who are the workers. Now, there are types of workers. The first is self-employed, of course, who works for himself, like farmers, tailors, a teacher who is teaching the students without being employed under somebody. You can also talk about the self-employed, like a person who is owning a small business, a trader, an entrepreneur. They're all self-employed, whereas the hired worker is the one who is working for others and is receiving salary or rewards in against. Now, the hired workers are of two types. One is the casual and the second is the regular. This is very important, children. You should remember. The casual workers are all those workers who are not permanent and their income again is not permanent or is not matching as per the social expectations. Excuse me. Whereas if you talk about the regular workers or salaried workers, they are the one who have been hired by some of the companies on the standard wages as per the expectations of the society. They're not only regular in their salaries, but also regular in the terms and conditions of the employment. Children, sometimes the difference difference between casual workers and regular workers is asked. You must prepare for the particular question. As we just talked about the types of employment, there are types. The first type of rural unemployment. This is the most important segment out of this topic, which is seasonal unemployment and disguised unemployment. This is generally asked in the form of one marker and sometimes also asked in the form of different types of questions. That means the difference between seasonal and disguised unemployment. So the one who is employed for certain seasons in a year is known as seasonal unemployed person, whereas the one who is working beyond the cap sorry, on the other hand, the one who is working beyond the absorptive or absorption of the employment nature is known as disguised unemployment. You can better understand this by the examples. Seasonal unemployment is a situation where the person is able to get jobs for few months in a year. For example, the farmers. Farmers can be the best example. During sowing season or harvesting season, they get the job. I'm talking about the agricultural laborers, of course. They get the jobs, whereas they are jobless when the season is over. Then comes this disguised unemployment. It is a very prevalent problem in India, as especially because of the joint family system and joint business system. When we require a potential of employment, but more than that potential is being exploited. For example, if we need 10 people to work, but more than 10 people are employed or engaged in that particular activity, such situation is known as disguised unemployment. Then open unemployment, as it sounds, frictional. This is something new. Frictional unemployment is a situation when there is unemployment for a certain period of time. Can be for some days, for some months, and for some year, but it is just a period of time when a person is unemployed, especially when a person is switching from one job to the other job. Second is structural unemployment. This is also as employment which is for a certain period of time during the switch of the job, but this time we do not switch from same sector to the same sector, but we change from one sector to the other sector, like primary to secondary, secondary to tertiary. And during this period, if a farmer wants to become a worker in industry, so he has to learn how to operate the machines, how to operate and work under the industry. So the process when he learns about the uh, system of the industry, in that period when he lies to be unemployed is known as structural unemployment. Cyclical unemployment is because of the economic conditions. Being economic student, you must be knowing that there is an economic cycle in the economies of the world, which is sometimes there is a boom in the economy, there is a boom in the economy. When there is boom, it's not always healthy. Then there can be conditions of recession. When there is recession, the economy starts falling down. But if they keep coming down, means the situation is not able to be handled and they come down and continue to become down. This is called as economic depression. When this depression is there, every economy tries to cure it. And this is known as cyclical unemployment. That means when in a cycle of economic condition, right from boom to recession to depression and recovery, people sometimes gain the job, they tend to lose their job, then they regain the job. So this is known as cyclical unemployment. Then comes this urban unemployment, especially found in the urban areas, that is industrial unemployment, while opening and shutting down of the industries. Educated unemployment means a person is educated and skilled and is not getting the job as per the match of the qualification. Technological unemployment, it is because of the advancement in the technology. A person working on typewriter and is very much skilled, but suddenly has to work with the computers and the laptops, will definitely take some time to upgrade himself or herself. So such condition of unemployment is known as technological unemployment. Now, what are the causes? This is a very important question, children. I repeat, this is a very important question. sometimes when it comes to writing the question, you do not write the significant points. In fact, there can be thousands of points which can justify the answer. But please write the significant questions as you're going to write in the board. So the first is, of course, slow growth rate or slow economic growth is responsible for unemployment. Then population explosion, as we talked in the last topic, in human capital formation, that it does not match with the supply and demand proportion. Underdeveloped agriculture. In the developing countries like India, in the developing countries like India, where agriculture is the main or major source of employment, we can see that agricultural pattern is still underdeveloped and the farmers are not that trained. So still the problems like seasonal unemployment and disguised unemployment can be noticed. Defective education system. Our education system can graduate the people, but cannot teach the people how to be self-dependent and how to gain an occupation for themselves. This is what is known as defective education system, which we are working upon recently, especially after the introduction of national education policy. Slow growth of industry. Industrial growth in India, of course, is very slow. For certain decades, it was even slower than Bangladesh and Pakistan. Therefore, and you know what? Multiple experts, due to time limitation, I cannot share much with you. Next time, I would advise you to join for the regular classes. Due to the slow growth of industry, why does it happen? Many of the economists have advised that any country which is in developing process or development process can only grow with the help of industries. Therefore, the growth of industries is very, very important. Decline in the cottage and small scale industries has helped many people become unemployed. Faulty planning, the planning commission, which has been dropped by Indian government, had also got so many loopholes in it. Inadequate employment planning, it's also the part of the previous point only. Low capital formation. See, when you're talking about self-employment, this is the biggest shelter of providing employment. And when it is coming to self-employment, we need investment. And when it comes to investment, we need capital. And that comes from banking. In India, the banking is inadequate, as well as the formation of capital is also inadequate. These two are also one of the major reasons of unemployment in India. You see, many startups in India are struggling with the lack of capital. Excessive use of foreign technology. See, when we are blindly following and imitating the foreign pattern of production, this is very harmful. We have to be independent. Lack of financial resources, as already mentioned, in low capital formation. And the last but not the least, that is increase in labor force. Slowly and gradually, our population is increasing, as you can see in the point B, population explosion. This is making imbalance between labor supply and labor demand. I hope this answer is clear to you, and you can take, even if you take 6 points out of all these so many points, your answer will be justifying the question. See, when there is a problem, there is solution always. You may be asked a question like, what are the problems and what are their solutions at the same time? So what will be the solutions? Of course, related to the problems, like low growth of economy. So yes, we need to accelerate the growth in the economy. High population explosion, we need to control the population. Then we can see the underdevelopment in agriculture industry. So we definitely need to talk about the development of small scale enterprises where we can absorb all those who are left out from the agriculture and industries. Should also encourage infrastructure. This is something new. Infrastructure, especially the social and economic, both the types of infrastructures, they not only provide direct employment, but also indirect employment. There should be a special type of employment programs where the people should be taught to be self-dependent and skill-oriented so that they do not get only employment for themselves, but also provide employment to many more. And this chain continues. There should be rapid industrialization. Children, I have been telling this to you that many of the economists have emphasized over this, that industrialization can only be the backbone of for the development of a country. China can be the best example of it. China could not develop, could not get shelter from its agricultural development. It was only industrial sector which helped China to develop and be one of the highest GDP in the world. What are the different programs which are run by the government? See, we are a socialist economy. I mean, we are the economist economy, whereas in constitution, we have a proposal of socialism, that is social equality and social satisfaction. So under this, the government of India has to fight with all the challenges being faced by the population living in our country. So we definitely not have to talk about the poverty schemes, but yes, those schemes which have been working for the solutions to the problem of unemployment. Actually, children, the points are same. Maybe the poverty alleviation programs or employment generation programs, they both are same. So in this, we first talk about Manrega. Let me tell you, Manrega is very, very important. This can be one marker. This can be an independent question as well. What is Manrega? The full form of Manrega is Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act. You have already studied this many times in the junior classes. The same continues here. It is a guarantee program under which the people who are registered, they get the guarantee to get employment in this scheme. Then comes this Swarn Jayanti Shahri Rozgar Yojana. This is scheme related to urban employment generation. Swarn Jayanti Gram Swarojgar Yojana. This is scheme associated with the rural employment generation. These both are associated with employment generation with self-employment schemes. Here, the government of India provides skills, trainings, as well as the fund to start the self-employment with the help of small entrepreneurship, or it can be small trading, shops, and many more things. Now, Pradhan Mantri Gramoday Rozgar Yojana. This is also associated with the Gram, that means Gaon, villages. It talks about the employment in the rural India. That's it. Today, we have covered two very important chapters of this unit. We are now next to cover environment and sustainable development in the next session, along with the last topic of this unit, which is rural development. Children, I must tell you, the remaining two topics are weightage-wise more important. When it comes to sustainable development or rural development, they are the topics which are covered under 6 markers. So please do join the next session for covering these two topics. Thank you so much.